Hi guys, welcome back to the Midnight Story where I, Kiara Sherelle, will be reading a bedtime story. We are going to do a continuation of James Patterson's Sundays at Tiffany's, and I believe we're on episode 8, I think. Almost 10 episodes, guys. Almost 10 episodes. I'm very excited. Okay, so relax, get comfortable, get your tea, get your water, turn your lights off, okay? And also, don't forget to subscribe, share the channel with someone you think it would be helpful for. You can also like and again comment any other books you may like to hear. I'm open to suggestions. Also, I just launched a digital guided journal, a 30-day guided journal with 30 prompts, affirmations, but it is made for you to do before bed. So it's very on theme with my channel. I'll drop a link. But anyway, let's get into this book. We were on chapter 27. Okay, so, on to better and definitely more meaningful subjects. On Sunday mornings, I worked at a women's shelter on East 119th Street, Spanish Harlem. No big deal, no Purple Hearts necessary, but it was something I could do to help out a little, and it brought much needed perspective to my life. 6 hours at the shelter, and I came home feeling blessed beyond belief. I kind of thought of it as going to church, only better, more useful anyway. So there I was, ladling out scrambled eggs and beans, hard rolls, and squares of margarine. Paper plates for the food, plastic cups for the orange juice. It felt good to know that these people would have full stomachs this morning. "Can you give my son more eggs?" a mother with a 5 or 6-year-old boy asked. "You do that for me?" "Of course," I said. I gave him another scoop of eggs with the hard roll on top. "Say thank you to the lady, Kwame." "Thank you." "You going to be able to eat all that, Kwame?" I gently kidded the boy. He nodded shyly, and his mother spoke in a whisper. "Tell the truth. He eats some now?" She took a wrinkled piece of tinfoil from a shopping bag and finished the rest for supper. The line kept moving, hungry people coming, and I kept dishing out eggs for them, saying, "Thank you, please come again." Trying to make everybody feel as welcome as possible. An old, good-hearted Italian woman from St. Rose's Parish worked alongside me, pouring orange juice and milk. "Look over there," she whispered, pointing with her elbow to the middle of the line. "She's just a girl herself." I spotted a rail-thin woman, no more than 18, if that, with a baby in a worn snuggly. A little boy clung to the woman's skinny legs. What really set her apart, though, were 2 black eyes and a soiled bandage twisted around her limp right arm. Stuff like that made my jaw clench and my stomach turn. To think that anyone would get away with hurting someone like that. When she came to my spot on the line, I told her, "Go sit down, I'll bring the food over to you and the kids." "No, I can manage it." "I know you can. Let me help anyway, that's my job." I found a plastic tray and piled it with eggs and rolls. I took 2 cups and a full can of orange juice. I even grabbed 3 bananas from the kitchen, where the nuns kept fresh fruit for special occasions or delicate situations. "Hey, thank you," the girl said softly. When I got to her table and unloaded the food, she said, "You're a nice white lady." Well, I try. Chapter 28. Finally, the last of the scrambled eggs went onto the paper plate of an elderly woman who had no teeth and wore plastic bags over her hands and her shoes. "Make it through another day," she kept repeating over and over. It was a little disturbing how deeply I related to that sentiment. Just before noon, I stepped out into the crisp morning of a Spanish Harlem Sunday in New York. My arms hurt and my head ached, but there was something basic and good about feeding people who are hungry. It was beautiful everywhere I looked. Everything seemed full of life and promise, which, considering last night's debacle, seemed like a miracle. On the steps of the church were 5 little girls dressed like miniature brides, kids about to make their first communion. Nearby, serious-faced men drank cervezas and played dominoes on wooden cartons. I inhaled deeply. The smell of fried churros was in the air and corn on the cob, and chili. I crossed over to Park Avenue, where the commuter trains come out of the underground tunnel, and where this ragtag Harlem neighborhood eventually turned into the fancy Upper East Side. I kept walking, feeling pretty good now. I was pretty much over last night at the Met. As I crossed the next street, my own building came into sight, and some jerk began honking his horn at me. I turned around and saw that the obnoxious jerk was Hugh. There he sat, looking bashful and apologetic in a shiny blue Mercedes convertible, his angel's face sending all rational thought fleeing. Oh, how our eyes can tell lies to our brains. Facts. Chapter 29. The only thing prettier than the navy blue sun-dappled sports car was the man driving it, and he knew it. He was wearing Italian sunglasses and a light brown leather jacket that looked so soft, you immediately wanted to touch it. And to give him a regular guy look, a New York's giant cap with the visor bent at the sides, just so. Join me for a spin, beautiful? Delivered in a humorous tone I knew he'd stolen from Mr. Big in Sex and the City. Hugh and the car made a lovely couple, but I was thinking I could do without either of them. After all, I didn't care. I really didn't. Well, I almost didn't care. Oh, damn it. Maybe I cared a little bit. I'm supposed to meet my mother for lunch in an hour, I said coolly. She's been a little under the weather lately. The words floated out without my bidding, but they sounded great. I'll get you back in an hour. You know I wouldn't dare piss off Vivian. Hugh, after last night, I just can't. Come on, come for a ride. I want to talk to you, Jane. I came all the way up here from the village. I really didn't know that we have anything to talk about, Hugh, I said, keeping my voice mild. I'm a changed man, Hugh said, channeling deep sincerity, and I can even tell you why. Give me a chance to talk. A changed man from yesterday? I sighed and looked reluctant for a full 30 seconds before giving in and climbing into the car. Hugh happily gunned it down Park Avenue. Suddenly, he swerved the SL-55 to the left, and soon we were speeding along FDR Drive, which was moving just fine, but moving where? I've got to tell you what I always seem to be telling you, Jane. If he said, give me the part, I swear I was going to shove a pin right into his ear. I've got to tell you that I'm sorry, he said, totally taking me aback. I'm so sorry, Jane. I didn't know what Felicia and Ronnie had planned, I swear to God. Then my stupid tongue and temper got the best of me. My brain told me that couldn't be true. Even as my heart was registering how incredibly sincere he sounded, I was starting to soften up a little bit and I didn't like it. Trying to stay strong, I didn't respond. Just kept my eyes focused on the horizon. The horizon? Jesus. We were going bumpity bump over the Brooklyn Bridge now. Heading where? And why? On the other side of the bridge, Hugh drove to a spot with an incredible picture postcard view of Manhattan. Honestly, the city looked as if it had been carved out of a perfect piece of silver. I'd never been here with Hugh, and I suddenly wondered who had been. I guess I assumed we were on the same wavelength about the movie part, Janie. He went on. I saw myself in the role. I did it on Broadway. It's part of me. I assumed you just saw me as perfect for it too. He shot me a gorgeous smile, contrite and cocky at the same time. Okay, as motivation, it almost made sense. You just weren't listening, Hugh, as usual. He draped his arm over my seat and lightly stroked the back of my neck. You know, Jane, I also thought that this project, this little movie, could turn us into the team I know we can be. I pictured us working together. It would be fantastic. Together in our personal lives and in our professional lives. You know, I'd be there for you. I could help you, support you. I thought about it a lot. It's my dream, honestly. His voice was low and sincere. He was holding my hand, rubbing my knuckles gently. What was going on here? I was getting a little dizzy. I was weakening, wasn't I? He opened the glove compartment and reached in. My eyes almost popped as he pulled out a robin's egg blue jewelry box. Inside my chest, my heart seized. He couldn't. He wouldn't. This I hadn't been expecting. When Hugh opened the Tiffany's box, there was a lovely diamond. It wasn't huge, but it wasn't small either. I tried not to suck in a wheezing breath. Jane, I know we can be great again. I've got the ring and you've got the movie. Let's make a trade, sweetheart. Do we have a deal? Time stopped. The earth tilted beneath me. Oh my freaking God. Oh my God. No, this didn't just happen. I felt as if I had just been punched very hard in the chest. A long pause followed while my stunned brain tried to decide on a response. Instant tears, rage, pathetic humiliation. This had been my first and only marriage proposal, and I couldn't imagine it sucking more. Was Hugh insane, or was I just a much bigger loser than even I had suspected? Hugh stopped smiling, watching my face. Finally, my synapses started firing jerkily, and I searched for breath. I'm sorry, Hugh, I said tightly, in a colossal understatement, about so many things, giving you another chance, caring for you in the first place. And I'm most sorry about what you just said to me. Let's make a trade, sweetheart. Do we have a deal? How could you possibly say such a thing? My voice had risen with each sentence, and I was aware of a strident, anger-constrained tone that should have made him run for the hills. I'm not a speechwriter, I'm an actor, he muttered. Okay, maybe I didn't pretty it up enough and I apologize, but I was going for direct honesty. Isn't that what you always say you want? Pretty it up enough? I sputtered. Are you nuts? Try biggest insult of my life. Try worst disaster of a heinous proposal ever. Hugh's face had gone cold and stony. Jane, you're making a huge mistake in judgment. Maybe you should check with Vivian. I thought I couldn't be more stunned, but I was sadly mistaken. I was now officially more stunned. Oh, Hugh, was all I could manage. Starting to choke up. Get me out of here. Take me home. Right now. Hugh looked at me for several long moments, disbelief marring his handsome face, as if he couldn't imagine what I was so upset about. Finally, he shifted his body back toward the steering wheel. He turned the key in the ignition. Then I'll see you around. He leaned across me, flicked my door open, then popped my seatbelt loose. He leaned against his seat and waited, disdain oozing out of every pore. What? Get out. His tone was icy, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. When I didn't immediately move, he turned and started yelling, Get out of my fucking car. My face burning, I jumped out of the car. He was throwing me out, and he was doing it in Brooklyn. Without waiting for me to close the door, Hugh peeled out backward and sped away, kicking up gravel that hit my legs. He had done it. He'd taken me to the middle of Brooklyn and then kicked me out with no ride home. Strangely, I didn't shed a tear. Not for the first 6.5 seconds anyway. Chapter 30. He had nothing but time. It was a beautiful day and he was trying to kick his Jane habit. So Michael was headed out for a walk, maybe a movie. On his way out, he met Owen on his way in, coming up the stairs of the brownstone with Patty, the waitress from the Olympia. Oh no, what have I done? Owen and Patty? They were a cute enough couple, except that Michael didn't trust Owen as far as he could throw him. And he really liked Patty. He didn't want to see her hurt by a confirmed womanizer. Hi, Michael, Patty beamed, as she always did at the restaurant. I was hoping I would see you. I wanted to thank you for bringing Owen to the Olympia that morning. Oh, it was nothing. Best pancakes around, right? How are you guys? He tried to send Owen a warning glance, like, hurt this girl and I'll kill you, but Owen didn't meet his eyes. Patty continued to smile and did seem happy. I'm great, but this one, he's a diamond in the rough. He's funny. Another Dane cook. I am not, Owen said, looking offended. How could you think that? And who's Dane Cook? See, said Patty affectionately. He knows Dane Cook's a comedian. Yeah, Owen's a card, all right, Michael said, wanting to come right out and warn Patty. Owen wasn't deliberately cruel, but Michael didn't see how this could end well. Okay, see you guys. Bye, Patty said, and Michael sighed and continued downstairs. He was nervous for Patty and her little girl. Owen had flat out told him that every woman he'd ever known had been a sex object to him, even his wife. Great, that was great. Well, maybe Patty would save him from himself. He looked back up the stairs at the two of them, and there it was. Owen's get away with anything smile. Great. Don't be judging Mikey, Owen called out and grinned. And God, he had brought them together, some friend he'd been to Patty. Once Michael was out on the street, he didn't know what he wanted to do. He decided not to go near Jane again, so that was out. It was the weekend, so the streets weren't as crowded, which was always nice. But the sight of Patty going up to Owen's had gotten to him, ruined his day before it had begun. Plus, in general, he hadn't really recovered from seeing Jane in the first place. Then he had an idea. He hoped, not inspired by Owen, maybe it was just a ticket to save the day. He gave Claire DeLune a call, and she was home on this beautiful Sunday, and yes, she'd love to see him. Chapter 31. I must have eventually found a cab in Brooklyn. It must have gone back over the Brooklyn Bridge, and it must have dropped me off at my apartment on 75th Street. It must have happened, but I don't remember any of it very well. I do remember seeing Hugh peel away. I remember the sharp gravel hitting my shins. I specifically remember giving him the finger. Next thing, Martin was holding open the door of my building, and I was staggering toward the elevator. As I opened the apartment door, the phone was ringing and I answered it in a daze, not even thinking that it might be Hugh. This is Jane, I said mechanically, kicking off my shoes. Jane, sweetie, my mother's imperious voice. Where are you? You said you were coming for lunch. I have that wonderful Gravlex from Zabar's. Carl Friedkin is here, and I have photos from the new Valentino collection, and... Sorry, I won't be there, Mother. I'm not feeling too great. Slight understatement. I think what you're feeling is maybe Hugh McGrath, my mother said playfully. Bring the dear boy along. It will be fun. We can chat about Thank Heaven. Oh, that was not going to happen. Hugh isn't here and I'm not feeling well. I'll talk to you later, Mother. I didn't wait to hear her say goodbye. I immediately decided that I couldn't bear being in my empty apartment. Anywhere but here. Well, anywhere but here in Brooklyn. I changed my gravel-ruined pants for some jeans and a Music in the Park t-shirt and started walking downtown. No destination in mind. In 20 minutes or so, I was heading west. There was a Hermes and the Robinson Galleries. And then my childhood home away from home. Tiffany's. The sign in the window read, open Sundays 11 to 6, which I knew, of course. How many Sunday afternoons had Vivian and I spent here, trying on estate jewelry and looking at diamonds through a loop? I had probably been the only 7-year-old who could knowledgeably discuss facet proportions and the merits of an Asher cut versus a brilliant one. I leaped through the revolving door on 57th Street, timing it as if I were jumping rope. In no time, I was near the 5th Avenue entrance, and all of a sudden, I was shopping for a diamond ring. Chapter 32. Whenever I was inside Tiffany's, memories rushed back. The feel of the carpet beneath my feet, the shine of the wooden panels, the heat of the lamps under the glass counters. This was the one place where Vivian and I had gone alone, without her entourage, and we were like a real mother and daughter. This was where my mother seemed most herself, even more than when she was at the theater, and happiest. I studied the display case as if I were planning a June wedding, which, oops, I guess I had put the kibosh on earlier today. The diamond rings were like a constellation, all lined up in a divine, predestined order. From the smallest, barely visible single stone band to exquisite natural pink and yellow square cut, and pear cut diamonds set in platinum, each ring worth more than some luxury automobiles. May I show you something? A young saleswoman had appeared out of the ether. Out of the ether. She was my idea of elegance in a simple black suit with a lovely string of pearls. Everything just so. I said. I saw her surreptitious glance at the naked fingers of my left hand. You know, she said confidingly, expertly unlocking the case. Lots of women are gifting themselves with diamonds for their right hand. Gifting themselves. Now there was a phrase. It sounded so much better than, say, ridiculously indulging. Yes, I had actually seen the ads in Vanity Fair and Harper's Bazaar. Every ring has its own meaning. A special day, a dream come true, a wonderful secret, blah, blah, blah. But obviously the sales copy had worked on me, at least a little. May I see that one, I asked, pointing to an elegant Tiffany celebration ring, more than a dozen flawless diamonds set in a platinum band. It's beautiful, isn't it? The saleswoman said, as she delicately placed it on a piece of black velvet. The diamonds burned with an inner fire, and even when I was 7, I could have told you that their cuts were perfection. God, the ring was beautiful. So beautiful that it almost hurt my eyes. It hurt my heart too. Try it on, urged the devil's handmaiden. I slipped it onto the third finger of my right hand. Whew. I felt like a real grown-up. It practically made my wrist clunk down on the counter. It was truly, truly stunning. A celebration ring indeed. It fit you perfectly. It won't even have to be sized, she said in a conspiratorial whisper. I had been at Tiffany's enough to believe that the man in the gray suit standing next to me, the man pretending to be looking at diamond rings, also was a security guard. Did I look suspicious? Dangerous? I could only wish. What's the price on this? I asked, feeling my heart lurch. She whispered, 13,000. Somehow she made that number sound like an unbelievable steal. I calmly said, I'd like to buy it. As if she heard that statement every 10 minutes, the saleswoman said, of course. I handed her my credit card and IDs. The transaction went quickly, and yes, Virginia, there's a reason for that. After reading my driver's license, the saleswoman asked, are you by any chance related to Vivian Margot? She's my mother. The saleswoman let out a knowing, I see. And within a few minutes, I was standing out on 5th Avenue, the diamond facets on my hand catching the sun just perfectly. I sneaked a look at my hand as I began walking downtown. I waited for the traffic light to change. I sneaked another look at my hand. Then I glanced to my left. There it was, just as inviting as Tiffany's. Chapter 33. The St. Regis. I loved the St. Regis, Claire said as she and Michael turned the corner of 55th Street and the hotel was revealed. He had picked her up at the place she shared with another model near Bryant Park. Then they had walked north on 6th, then 5th. He'd kidded that maybe he could buy her a little something at Tiffany's. Another weird Jane memory popping into his head. Are you rich, Michael? Claire asked, laughing. In spirit only, he said. Actually, all he had to do was snap his fingers and he had most of what he wanted. Literally. Snap, and some cash would appear in his pocket. He didn't know how it happened, but why fight it? Anyway, Michael's needs were few. The simple life suited him best. Can we go in? Asked Claire. Absolutely, we love the St. Regis. And suddenly there it was, right in front of him, the Astor Court. Everything about the hotel restaurant seemed to have changed, and yet everything seemed exactly the same. Women in designer outfits, dads treating their kids to lunch, whole families attacking petite fours and Napoleons, tarts and creme brulees. Will that be two? The maitre d' asked. Please, two, said Michael, feeling his pulse racing just a little. Now, why would that be? It wasn't as though he'd see Jane here, not even 8-year-old Jane. He and Claire were seated at an intimate table for 4, and within moments, someone swept away the 2 extra settings. This is fabulous, said Claire. Somehow I've never been here, after 5 years in New York. Michael smiled at her, glad he could give her this pleasure. His eyes examined every aspect of the room. It almost did seem to have frozen in time. The music playing was Love in Bloom. The trolley was piled high with desserts. Porcelain trays were full of tea sandwiches. Except that there was no imaginary friend eating melon. No 8-year-old girl devouring coffee ice cream with fudge sauce. It was as if the stage had been set, but one of the most important characters hadn't showed up. Jane was missing from the scene. What was he doing? Trying to recapture some of the happiest afternoons of his life? With Claire de Lune as a stand-in for a sad, brave, amazing girl who had kept his heart when he'd left her behind. He looked at Claire. Is this okay? He asked. She beamed. Of course. I love it, Michael. Any girl would. And in case you haven't noticed, I'm a girl. He swallowed. Yeah, well, I did notice that. You heard the weird stuff. Okay. Chapter 34. The heady rush of spending a fortune on a ring that could be used as a spotlight from a space station was starting to fade, leaving me a little jittery. Like any self-respecting addictive substance, now I desperately needed to relax, to calm down. And yes, since this was go-to-hell day, to eat dessert, the St. Regis was the perfect place for all of the above. I was hanging on by a thread. Okay, what's about to happen? My ex-boyfriend was an egomaniac and a complete and utter jerk. My current mother was making me crazy and had been for decades. I had just spent a huge sum of money on a ring I didn't need. Beyond that, everything was just fine and dandy. Would you like to see a menu, miss? The waiter asked. How did he know I was a miss? Was it in my eyes? The way I held myself? I needed to seize control. No, I'll just have iced tea, I said virtuously. Thank you. Of course. Then my sanity returned. Virtuous, smirtuous. Too late. I was wearing a diamond ring that I had bought for myself. Wait, hold up. You know what? I'll have the hot fudge sundae with coffee ice cream. A much better choice. I was enjoying shooting diamond laser beams all over the Astor Court when the waiter returned with my ice cream sundae. The silver dish was bigger than Hugh's head. There was no way I could finish this whole thing. And ever hold my head up again in public anyway. How had I managed to do it when I was 8 years old? Maybe I had been a little pudgier than I remembered? Or no, much better. It had no doubt been served in a much smaller dish back then. Yes, that was the ticket. The first luscious spoonful brought everything rushing back. It was all very Protian, remembrance of guilty pleasures past and all that good stuff. How I had loved those Sunday afternoons here with Michael and at Tiffany's, wherever Vivian wanted to go as long as I was included. My mother and her friends would sit gossiping or doing business, and Michael and I would wander into our own little imaginary world. Was that the last time I had actually felt happy? If it was, then I was more pitiful than I wanted to admit. I took another spoonful, this time making sure that the ice cream was accompanied by just the right amount of fudge sauce. This was so what I needed. This and the honking big ring on my right hand. I wiggled my fingers, letting it catch the light. Speaking of pitiful, since I didn't seem able to avoid it, I had to admit that I still believed in my imaginary friend from childhood. What should that tell me about myself? And then I blinked, looked away, and blinked again. What the? I had noticed a couple sitting just a few tables away. A nice-looking couple, in fact, a perfect choice for the Jane and Michael game. But that wasn't what was so shocking. I put down my spoon, slowly wiped my mouth with the napkin, and really stared. Suddenly, my hands and knees were shaking and my lower lip was quivering. The man? It couldn't be. Michael? I blinked my eyes rapidly again, like a cat in a cartoon. I started to perspire and continued to tremble. Michael was with a very pretty woman with silky, minky dark hair. She was gorgeous, actually. One of those model beautiful women who seemed like exquisite freaks of nature. Michael had always told me that he could be an imaginary friend only to children. 8 years old was the limit. That's why he had left me on my 9th birthday. What? Had he gotten promoted or something? Could grown-ups have imaginary friends? If so, where was mine? Or maybe it wasn't Michael after all. I mean, of course it wasn't Michael, who had been, after all, imaginary. But it had to be. That smile was unmistakable. The amazing green eyes, he was as good looking as ever, maybe even more so. It crossed my mind that I went crazy. Well, okay, maybe I would just run with that. What could I do about it now anyway? Call 911 on myself? It occurred to me, if I was really insane, then I wasn't responsible for my actions. It kind of freed me up in a way. I stood up from my table and headed toward them. If this man wasn't Michael, well, I'd throw my arms around him anyway. I'd probably kiss him. I might even ask him to marry me. The day he left me, Michael had said I'd never even remember him. He'd been completely wrong about that. I remember every single thing about him, and this was definitely Michael. Unless I had gone completely insane, it could go either way. Do I stop there? I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna stop there at chapter 35. At this point, hopefully you are asleep, so you're not even paying attention to this part, okay? You should be knocked out. But we ended the chapter there. See you guys in a couple of days, maybe. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share with everyone. But thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate the support that I am getting. And again, give me suggestions. I'm open. Okay? Bye.